My name is Caleb, and I'll tell you right now, I moved into this building with 4 boxes, a mattress that took 40 minutes to get up the stairwell, and absolutely no expectations. The fourth floor was quiet when I got there. The kind of quiet that means people are home and staying that way. One bulb out in the hallway. Worn carpet the color of old sand. Unit 4A, my unit, smelled like the previous tenant's cleaning products and someone else's decisions. I propped the door open and got to work. By 8 o'clock, I had the mattress on the floor, 2 boxes open, and a lamp with no shade. The hallway outside had gone completely still. The building had that particular hell-breath feeling of a place that didn't get new people very often. Then I heard the door across the hall. She was already looking at me when I turned around. Standing in the hallway with a package held in both hands, still in what she'd worn to work, dark fitted trousers, a blouse half untucked on one side in a way that looked like the end of a long day rather than carelessness. Dark hair, most of it still up, but not all of it.
This was outside my door. 4A is yours?
That's me, yeah?
Diana. 4B.
She handed over the package and looked past my shoulder into the apartment with the calm assessment of someone whose entire job was reading space. Not rude, just direct. She looked at the room the way other people look at a face.
You're putting the bed there?
For now.
The light's wrong on that wall. Morning comes in from the east side. You'll be up at 6 whether you want to be or not.
Maybe I want to be. She looked at me when I said that. A full second, not checking if I was serious, more like filing it away. Then she stepped inside, just past the threshold. She turned toward the far wall and raised one hand.
That wall. The light stays neutral all day. Better for sleeping. Better for everything else too.
Her shoulder was 6 inches from my arm when she said it. She didn't move to increase the distance. Neither did I. The room was half dark, the lamp throwing one circle of yellow light across the floor, and she stood at the edge of it with her arms still raised slightly, pointing at a wall we both already understood she wasn't really talking about. Then she lowered her hand, looked at the room once more, looked at me.
Welcome to the building.
She left, and something she was wearing, warm, woody, nothing sweet about it, stayed in the room after the door across the hall closed. I stood there for a moment. Then I went back to unpacking. 30 minutes later, another knock. Different energy entirely. She was already smiling when I opened the door. A woman leaning against the frame with a covered dish held at her hip like she'd carried it 100 times, barefoot in the hallway, completely unbothered by any of it. Softer than Diana, but not quieter. Warm where the first one had been precise.
I made too much. I always make too much. I figured a new neighbor was a better option than the trash.
You always bring food to strangers?
You're not a stranger. You live 12 feet from me. I'm Serena. 4C.
I stepped back. She came in, and as she passed me in the doorway, unhurried, completely at ease, her arm crossed my chest, her hand open, palm flat, sliding across the front of my shirt in the specific way of someone who touched people easily and meant every bit of it. She kept moving toward the counter without looking back. She set the dish down, started talking about what was in it. I was still standing at the door. I closed it. My hand stayed on the handle one moment longer than it needed to. The next evening I got back from the corner store at 7:30, and Diana was in the hallway, still in work clothes, jacket folded over one arm, keys in her other hand, standing outside her door in a way that was technically just arriving home and was not that at all. She looked at me the way she had the night before, direct, unhurried, like she'd already decided what she thought and was simply confirming it.
You eat yet?
Just got back.
I'm coming in.
I don't have much.
I'm not coming for the food.
She said it plainly. No performance in it. Just the fact, laid down between us in a quiet hallway. I unlocked the door, and she walked in ahead of me. The apartment looked different than the night before. Boxes gone. A rug down. The lamp moved to the wall she had pointed at. I hadn't planned it that way. It had just made sense in the morning. She noticed. She didn't say anything about it. She dropped her jacket over the back of a chair and sat at the counter. I poured 2 glasses from the bottle that had been open since Tuesday and put one in front of her. She turned it in her fingers without drinking.
What brought you here? The real answer.
Needed a change.
From what?
from knowing exactly what every day was going to look like before it started. She looked at me across the counter, took a slow drink.
I know that feeling exactly.
We stayed on opposite sides of the counter for another 10 minutes. She asked about the work. I asked about hers. She described a client's apartment the way someone describes a person they find frustrating and fascinating in equal measure. Hands moving, voice shifting register when she got to the detail that mattered. I watched her hands. She watched my mouth when I talked. Neither of us was subtle about it, and neither of us pretended to be. Then she stood up, came around the counter, stopped in front of me with the specific confidence of someone who had considered this and was no longer considering it. She kissed me, not tentatively, not with a question in it. Her hand came up flat against my chest, and she kissed me like she had already known how it would feel and was simply arriving at something she'd scheduled. It started careful and became something else. My hand found the back of her neck, her hair still mostly up, the warm skin just below it. She made a sound low in her throat and pressed closer. Her jacket was gone. My hand moved from her neck down her back and she leaned into it, her fingers curling into the front of my shirt. The counter edge was at my back. She was not far from it herself. Then she slowed, not pulling away, just changing speed. Her forehead dropped briefly to my shoulder. I felt her breathe. When she lifted her head, her expression was steady, but there was something in it that hadn't been there before.
Not tonight.
All right.
That's not a no.
I know what it is. She held my eyes for a moment. Then she stepped back, smoothed her hair with both hands, found her jacket on the chair, shrugged it on with the ease of someone who was completely comfortable with exactly what had just happened. At the door she turned.
Serena brought you food the other night.
Not a question. She did. Diana looked at me. Something moved through her expression, not jealousy, something older and more interesting than that. She nodded once and left. 3 minutes later my phone lit up. Unsaved number. For words. The building has good bones. I set it face down on the counter. Picked up my glass. Looked at the wall she'd pointed to the night before. The light on it was exactly right. Saturday morning, I woke up to the smell of something cooking from down the hall. Spiced and warm and unhurried. The kind of smell that means someone started early and wasn't rushing toward anything. It was still there at noon when she knocked.
I need a second opinion. You're the closest option.
Second opinion on what?
Whether this needs more salt or if I'm overthinking it. Which I do. Often.
She was wearing a linen dress the color of cream. Barefoot. She had walked 12 feet from her apartment without going back for shoes, and it had not occurred to her to be bothered by that. She came in carrying a small pot and a wooden spoon and the easy confidence of someone completely at home in any kitchen that had a stove. She found mine in under 10 seconds. The apartment felt different with her in it. Warmer. Like a window had been opened somewhere that I hadn't known was closed.
Stand here. Close your eyes.
I'm not closing my eyes.
Then at least stop looking at me like that and open your mouth.
She held the spoon to my mouth and watched my face when I tasted it. Steady. Patient. Reading something in my expression that I hadn't offered with words. I told her it was good. She shook her head.
It's almost good. That's worse.
What's missing?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
She turned back to the pot. We talked while she adjusted things, about the dish, about where she learned to cook it, about the woman who taught her, and what that kitchen smelled like on winter mornings. The kind of detail people only share when they're comfortable in ways they haven't checked yet. At some point the conversation about food was gone. We were just standing in a kitchen. Close. The way two people get close when neither of them has moved away and neither of them is going to.
Can I ask you something about Diana?
You can ask.
Is she being careful with you or is she being careful with herself?
I looked at her. She was watching me without any sharpness in it, genuinely curious. Like Diana was a subject she found interesting rather than a threat she was measuring. I think those might be the same thing for her.
They usually are.
She was quiet for a moment. Then she said it simply, like a thing she'd already made peace with.
She's been alone a long time. So have I.
Her hand was resting on the counter next to mine. She turned it over. Palm up. Fingers relaxed. The quietest invitation I had ever been offered. No pressure, no performance. Just an open hand and the patience to let it be exactly what it was. I looked at it. then at her. I took it. She stepped into me without hesitation. Both arms around me, cheek pressed against my neck, the full warmth of her settling in like she had calculated exactly how much of herself fit against exactly this amount of me. My hands moved across her back. She was warm through the thin linen. I could feel her breathing slow. She tilted her face up. The kissing started unhurried and became increasingly not. Her hands moved into my hair. Mine found the side of her dress, a zipper, just below her ribs, and I found it without looking for it. She made a sound against my mouth when my hand found the skin beneath. My shirt came untucked, then off. She spread her hand flat against my chest and looked at me for one full second, not checking, just present, just marking exactly where she was and choosing to stay there. Everything slowed the way heat slows things down, not stopping, just stretching every second until it was completely full. We stopped near the edge of everything, not past it, close enough to feel exactly where it was. She rested her forehead against my collarbone. Her hand stayed flat on my chest, fingers spread wide. She could feel my heartbeat. I could feel her noticing it. Neither of us spoke. The window was open. Whatever was still on the stove was still warm. Her hand didn't move. Before we go any further, if this story has been doing something to you, you already know what to do. Hit that like button. Not for me. For Serena and her open palm and that wooden spoon. For Diana and the wall she pointed at that I moved my bed toward without meaning to. Subscribe if you want to know how this ends. And trust me, you want to know how this ends. Drop something in the comments. Tell me which one of them has you. Diana knocked first. Serena stayed longest. The answer says something about you. I'm curious what it says. Turn the notifications on. I don't post noise. When something's ready, it's ready. You'll want to be there when it drops. Alright, back to the 4th floor. She knocked at 9. Diana, standing in my doorway in a dark jacket, hair loose for the first time since I'd met her. Her excuse was thin and she didn't bother selling it. Something about the super, something about a lock. Her eyes said she knew exactly what she was doing and had decided sometime in the last 48 hours to stop pretending otherwise.
I can wait in the hall if it's a bad time.
It's not a bad time. She came in, and something about her was different. The careful precision from before was still there, but the distance inside it was gone. She stopped in the middle of the room and looked at me the way she had in the kitchen 2 nights ago, just before she'd crossed it. She raised one hand and touched my face. Just fingertips. Along my jaw, slow, like she was reading something written there.
I've been thinking about the other night.
So have I.
I don't want to wait anymore.
I closed the distance. Her back met the wall, and she pulled me there with both hands in my collar, not falling into it, putting us there, deliberate. Her chin lifted and her eyes completely open. My hands found her sides through the fabric of her jacket, and she shrugged it off without breaking contact, let it drop, didn't look at it. My hand slid under the hem of her shirt and found the warm skin of her side, and she exhaled slowly against my mouth, like something she'd been holding had finally been allowed to leave. She said my name. Not the way people say names in daylight. Something lower, something that only existed in rooms like this one, in the particular dark of a night that had narrowed down to 2 people and 1 wall. My mouth moved to her throat. Her head dropped back against the wall, one hand sliding into my hair, the other gripping my shoulder with a pressure that was asking for something specific. I gave her exactly that. She made a sound that had no word for it. Not loud, not performed, just completely honest, just the specific sound of a person who has been patient a long time and is no longer being patient. The room had gone completely quiet around us. Just her breathing and mine. Just the heat that had been building since a package in a hallway and a wall she'd pointed at that I'd moved my bed toward without meaning to. Then the knock came. I went still. Diana did not move from the wall. Her hand stayed in my hair. She raised one eyebrow at me with the specific expression of a woman who is not going to be the one to make this decision. I answered the door. Serena. Wine bottle held loosely at her side. A small smile already forming that stopped the moment her eyes moved past me into the room. Past my untucked shirt. Past Diana standing against the wall with her jacket on the floor and her hair fallen forward and her eyes tracking everything with absolute calm. 3 seconds of complete silence. Serena looked at Diana. Diana looked at Serena. The kind of look that carries an entire conversation inside it. Two women reading each other with the speed and accuracy of people who understood exactly what they were looking at. Then they both looked at me. Diana's hand was still resting on my chest from when she'd reached past me to push the door wider. She looked down at it, then back at Serena. Something moved across her face, something that had been complicated and heavy for a long time. And then it settled, and what replaced it was lighter than anything I'd seen on her yet.
The building has been very boring before you arrive.
Serena looked at her for one long moment, then at me. Then she stepped inside. I moved back to make room. The door closed. The wine went on the counter. The window was dark. Nobody left. I was awake before either of them. The room was gray-blue with early light. The kind of morning that arrives quietly and doesn't announce itself. I lay still for a moment and looked at the ceiling and listened to the building. A pipe somewhere, the distant sound of a street waking up, two women breathing in the particular stillness of sleep. I got up without disturbing either of them. The kitchen was cool. I filled the pot and set it on the stove and stood at the counter while it heated and looked at nothing specific. The wine bottle from the night before was still on the counter. One glass left in it. I left it where it was. Serena appeared in the kitchen doorway first. Hair loose, dress replaced by the oversized shirt she'd found in my closet at some point in the night without asking and without needing to. She looked at me and then at the stove, and then she gently moved me aside with one hand on my arm and took over without a word. You don't have to do that.
I know. Move.
I moved. She found the coffee without being shown where it was. She worked in comfortable silence for a minute, and then she said it, not looking up from what she was doing.
I haven't slept that well in about 2 years.
That a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm standing in your kitchen making coffee at 6 in the morning. What do you think?
I leaned against the counter and watched her. She told me about the 2 years, not everything, not a confession, just the shape of it. A relationship she'd ended because staying in it had started to feel like a habit rather than a choice. The particular loneliness of a decision you know is right. I listened without filling the silences. She didn't need them filled. When she finished, she looked at me sideways.
Your turn.
I left somewhere I'd been a long time. Thought if I changed the place something else would change with it.
Did it?
Still checking. She handed me a cup. Her fingers overlapped mine on it for one moment before she let go. Diana appeared 20 minutes later. She stood in the kitchen doorway in yesterday's trousers and nothing else, hair down, no jacket, no precision, just herself, unassembled, morning quiet. She looked at Serena, then at me, then at the coffee pot with the expression of someone who was going to need it before she dealt with any of this. Serena poured a cup without being asked and held it out. Diana crossed the kitchen and took it. Their fingers didn't touch, but they were close. Diana looked at her over the rim.
You make good coffee.
I make good everything.
I know. I've had your food.
Something passed between them when she said that. Not tension, recognition. The specific expression of two people discovering they find each other interesting in a way neither had budgeted for. We moved to the other room. Serena's legs went across Diana's lap without ceremony, like a thing that had been happening for years. Diana's hand rested on her ankle. My hand found the back of Serena's hair. The second time was nothing like the first. Slower, more deliberate. The kind of closeness that only exists when people have already seen each other completely and chosen to stay. Every movement carried the weight of knowing what the other person responded to, where they held tension, the specific sound they made when something landed exactly right. Familiarity didn't soften it. It made it precise, more intentional, each moment chosen rather than fallen into. Afterward, the room was full of late morning light and the particular quiet of people who had nothing left to perform. Diana was looking at the ceiling. Her voice, when it came, was low and even.
I don't know what this is.
Serena turned her head and looked at her.
Does it need to be something?
Diana held that question up and looked at it for a long time. The way she looked at rooms, reading the structure, finding where the light fell, deciding what was worth keeping.
No.
The word landed quietly. Serena nodded once. I looked at the window. The street outside was fully awake now, and none of us were in any hurry to join it. A week passed the way good weeks pass, quietly, with a rhythm that didn't announce itself until you were already inside it. There was no formal arrangement, no conversation that defined edges or assigned labels. Diana knocked when she wanted to. Serena's door was never fully closed. The fourth floor had stopped feeling like a hallway and started feeling like something with rooms in it. I didn't examine it. I just moved through it the way it was. Then Marcus called.
I'm coming to see this place. Already on the train. Don't clean up on my account.
I haven't touched anything.
That's what I said. See you in an hour.
He arrived loud, the way he always arrived. Jacket open, bag over one shoulder, looking at the apartment the way people look at something they're already forming a joke about. I showed him around. He nodded at things, made 2 observations about the rug. Then Serena knocked because she'd made extra again and didn't know Marcus was there. She came in and Marcus turned and looked at her with the specific attention of a man recalibrating.
Caleb. You've been here 1 week.
Marcus. This is Serena. She lives down the hall.
Down the hall. Right.
He talks about you like you're a problem he tolerates.
He says the same thing about me. We've been friends 12 years. You get used to it.
Diana arrived 20 minutes later. She came in mid-conversation, read the room in under 3 seconds, and settled at the counter with her coffee and the contained ease of a woman who was comfortable anywhere. Marcus looked at her, then at Serena, then at me. The sequence of his expression was something I would have found funny under different circumstances. For a while it was fine. Marcus was good company when he was paying attention, and he was paying attention. But an hour in, when the conversation had loosened, he leaned back in his chair and said it, the comment that landed wrong. Not cruel, not deliberate, just the easy carelessness of someone who thought he was among friends and forgot that not everyone found the same things funny.
So what is this, like a building thing? Welcome committee.
The room changed temperature. Serena's warmth dropped exactly 1 register. Diana set her cup down without sound and looked at Marcus with the particular stillness of a woman deciding whether to address something or simply let the person feel the weight of having said it. I didn't let it sit. That's not what this is. These are people I respect. You're going to do the same. Marcus heard it. He had the self-awareness, after 12 years, to know when he'd miscalculated. He nodded once and moved on and meant it. But the damage wasn't between him and them. It was the thing his comment had briefly made visible. The question underneath it. The one none of us had looked at directly. Marcus left an hour later with a quiet apology to both of them that was genuine, if imperfect. After the door closed, the 3 of us stayed in the room with what was left. Serena spoke first.
I need to know what this is. Not a label. Just, is this something you're in or something you're passing through?
Diana turned her cup in her hands. Her voice was measured.
I've been here before. With someone who kept his options open so long the window closed. I'm not doing that again.
They both looked at me. I didn't have a clean answer. I gave the only honest one I had. I'm not passing through anything. But I can't give you a word that makes this easy to explain to someone else. What I can tell you is, I see you. Both of you. Not the same way. Clearly. Separately. And I'm not going anywhere. It wasn't enough, and it was all there was. Serena nodded slowly. Diana stood, put on her jacket, looked at me once with an expression I couldn't fully read. They left separately. No anger in it. Just the particular quiet of people who had been honest and now needed to be alone with it. I stood at the window. Down in the street, I could see the warm edge of Serena's light still on. I didn't step back from it. 2 days of quiet. Not cold. Not broken. Just the specific silence of people who have said something real and are letting it settle before they say anything else. I gave it the space it needed. On the second morning I got up, got dressed, and walked to Diana's door. Not Serena's first. Diana's. Because Diana had asked the harder question and it deserved to be answered at her door, on her ground, without making her come to me for it. She opened it almost immediately. Work clothes. Bag on her shoulder. She had been 40 seconds from leaving.
Caleb.
I need 10 minutes. She looked at me for a moment. Then she stepped back and let me in. Her apartment was everything I expected and nothing like mine. Ordered. Considered. Every object exactly where it had been chosen to be. Morning light came through a tall window and fell across a clean floor, and I stood in the middle of it and said what I'd come to say. Not a speech. Not a list of intentions wrapped in careful language. Just the plain true thing, spoken once. I didn't fall into this. I want you to know that. Whatever you think happened, me just being available, two women on the same floor, the right place at the right time, that's not it. I see you, Diana. What you've built. How you move through a room. The way you go still when something matters. I'm not confused about what I want, and I'm not keeping my options open. I'm asking if what we have is worth keeping. The whole thing. All of it. She listened without moving. Without the small adjustments people make when they're forming a response. She just listened until I was done.
And Serena?
Come with me. Something shifted in her face. She looked at me for a long moment, and then she put her bag down on the chair by the door, and she came. We walked down the hall together. I knocked on Serena's door. She opened it and found both of us on her doorstep. Her eyes moved from my face to Diana's and back. Something complicated happened in her expression. Surprise. And then something underneath the surprise that looked a lot like relief.
Both of you.
Both of us. She stepped back. We came in. The conversation was quiet and specific and honest in the way that only happens when people have already been completely unguarded with each other and know there is nothing left to protect. No one made promises about permanence. No one asked for a category that fit a form. Serena said she needed to know she wasn't something that would get quietly set aside when things got complicated. Diana said she needed to know she wasn't being managed. I told them both the same thing I knew to be true, that I wasn't here to manage anything. That what I wanted was what was already in this room. That was enough. Not because it solved everything. Because it was real and they both recognized it. The final time between the three of us was nothing like the first night. No collision of surprise and wine, and a door nobody closed. This was deliberate. Unhurried. The kind of closeness that knows exactly what it is and moves through it with both hands open. Every touch a choice. Every moment landed in fully before the next one came. Diana's hand in Serena's hair. Serena's mouth at my shoulder. My hand moving slow across Diana's back, while she made the sound she only made when she had completely stopped holding anything back. Not a conclusion. A statement. This is what this is. We know it. We're staying in it. Afterwards, Serena's apartment held the late morning light and the smell of coffee going cold and the particular stillness of a room where nothing needed to be resolved anymore. Diana was asleep on the couch, one arm across her face. The precision gone, just a woman resting, just herself. Serena was at the window with her cup, looking at the street below, the light coming in around her. I watched her from across the room, and she spoke without turning.
You know the building's not boring anymore.
Was it ever really? She turned and looked at me, held it for a long moment. Then the smile came, not the easy one, not the laugh that opened a door, the one underneath it, the one that only came out when she wasn't thinking about it. My coffee was going cold on the sill. I didn't reach for it. That's the whole story, start to finish. A building that was boring before I arrived. At least that's what she said. If you made it all the way here, you already know this wasn't just a story. You felt something in it. Maybe something you recognized. Maybe something you're still sitting with. That's what this channel is for. If it landed, like it. If you want more, subscribe. If something in this story found you somewhere specific, tell me in the comments. I read them. The ones that are real, I remember. There's more coming. Different building. Different floor. Same kind of heat that starts before anyone admits what it is. Stay close.